Last time on Casino Royale with cheese.
Fair enough.
We watched Skyscraper.
Oh, I heard that sucked.
You heard correctly.
Did you watch that movie Rampage that he did?
Yeah, we watched
I heard that
shit.
fucking sucked too. But
It wasn't good either.
No.
It's right next to... So if you have HBO Go, or HBO Now, you can watch Rampage and Skyscraper back to back, and you almost feel like you're watching the same movie.
Ooh, a little Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson suckfest for your Sunday afternoon. There you
Now,
go, everybody.
Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson Suckfest sounds like a lot of fun.
And now, the conclusion.
You don't know the power of the dark side.
Maxie bit the Force.
That's not how the Force works.
Where are you taking this thing?
You came nothing? You're braver than I thought.
I can hold it. Pull on! No, I'm all right.
Well, we won't be seeing him again.
Hello, what have we here?
I thought they smelled bad on the outside.
I find your lack of faith disturbing. At last we will reveal ourselves to the Jedi. At last we will have revenge.
Remember, the Force will be with you, always.
Where did you dig up that old fossil?
Live from our studios in a galaxy far, far away, it's Casino Royale with cheese, starring your host, who's about as appealing as a dehydrated Jawa fart, Shane Burns.
Thank you, everybody. This is Casino Royale with Cheese, the internet show where we discuss movies that were number one at the box office exactly 20 years ago.
20 years ago.
20 years ago, but not in this case. I didn't even think about how far back this was. What is this, like,
1977, correct?
1977, so...
I know I have friends whose timelines begin and end with Star Wars.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I was unfortunate. I was not born whenever they released the last of the original three, so that's whatever. This is the, like I said, 20 years ago. My name is Shane, and today I am joined by the man who likes to hang out at Tashi Station to hit on hot chicks all day. This is Mike.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah. Episode 69, we're starting Star Wars month.
You said 69.
I did. Happy Star Wars month, Mike.
Happy Star Wars month, Shane.
I'm super pumped about this. I think this will be a little bit more upbeat than Military Movie Month. So, by the end of that, I was ready for that to be over, sir.
Oh, man. We were all suffering from PTSD after that month.
I'll tell you what. How's it going, man?
Pretty good. Just celebrated a very low-key Mother's Day yesterday. Happy Mother's Day to all you lovely mothers out there.
Yeah, happy Mother's Day, moms. So, that's cool.
Keep doing what you do because we can't do it.
No, we chip in, but we can't do it all.
Very little. Very little.
No.
We chip in very little.
Yeah, well, there you go. Yeah. So, we're recording at night again. Just the way it seems to work out sometimes, I suppose.
We have busy lives, my friend.
I'll tell you what, I had to plea bargain a deal to get this, so, you know.
By God, family comes first.
It does, unfortunately.
And for a couple
legally
of losers
it
like
has
us,
to.
yeah, for a couple of losers like us to be like, can we record on Mother's Day? Doesn't go over so well.
No. 2 weeks ago, my wife said, you're not recording on Mother's Day. It's not going to happen, dude.
She gave you the warning order?
Yes, sir. Today, to kick off Star Wars month, what are we watching, Mike?
Well, because the way Star Wars month worked out, we kind of piggybacked off of last week's number one.
Yep.
What was that again?
The Mummy.
Yeah, The Mummy was still number one this week.
Yep.
So we decided to make a full 4 episodes of Star Wars month, and it wouldn't be a month otherwise. And so you said I got this pick because you had the Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey pick last.
Yep.
And
Correct.
I know Empire Strike Back is largely considered the better of the original three, but I didn't feel right kicking off a Star Wars month without talking about Episode 4, A New Hope.
Yeah, the Empire Strikes Back definitely is a continuation of this. So if I can imagine, that would be almost like watching, starting off with Return of the Jedi. Maybe not to that
Right.
same degree, but you don't really know anything about what's going on. So yeah, you're kind of hosed if you don't start out with the original. This is a great introductory movie, by the way. I think that George Lucas did some awesome world building. And I think he did a great job of explaining things. He did a lot better job of explaining things in this movie than he did in next week's movie, which is episode 1, supposedly the start of the saga. And they just assume you know everything that's going on, So if you watch it in chronological order and you don't know anything about Star Wars, you don't have anybody to explain it to you, who knows what the fuck's going on? They really don't even hash it out till episode 4. So...
I would like to say the reason why I picked this movie is strictly because you really get a chance to see the genius that is George Lucas in this film. We're going to go over, I'm sure, all kinds of fun stuff that this movie entailed, but, groundbreaking in his time.
Oh, yeah. I don't think he's quite as genius now as he used to be, but
I think he might have got bought.
Right. This is one of the rare occasions that I can think of where a film actually did change history, though.
100%.
Yeah. Maybe The Wizard of Oz. I could see that. But
sure. Cinematic brilliance as well.
There's a bunch of them. A handful of them, at least. But
all you have to do is use the scrolling opening. What is that called?
The opening crawl, they call it?
Yeah, the crawl. That's been copied and done over and over a million times.
And he was copying it, so there you go.
Oh.
So, yeah, he was really into, I guess, Flash Gordon back in the day, the old black and white shit they used to show before the movie started. Not that one.
Oh.
Those Flashes made that Flash look cool. So, there you go. Anyway, yeah, they used to do that all the time just to recap what was going on in case, you didn't happen to go to the movie last time. It would fill you in on the story. So he's like, that'd be cool to do. So he borrows a lot of shit to throw into this movie. A lot of shit. And it ties up nicely together, I will say.
Well, for as much as been borrowed from him as well, I say he's even.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
What's your experience with this movie, Shane?
Well, so I have kind of a weird history with this movie as far as the first time I ever saw it. Number one, I'm going to preface things by saying there's by no means there's always, when it comes to Star Wars, somebody that's going to know more shit than you. So if there's something that me and Mike happen to miss, feel free to comment on our YouTube page. But
we're gonna
miss a ton of shit. Yeah. So
we don't want to give you guys a 4-hour podcast. So
no.
We've been sticking to the hour mark. I'd be happy if we were 1:15 and lower.
Ooh, I don't know if that's gonna happen, dog. But we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see.
Anyway, so back in the day. Funny thing about this movie is my dad had recorded it off of television.
Pirate.
They were airing it. Yeah. There's nothing illegal about recording off TV, I'm pretty sure. They don't have warnings and shit before that.
I think as long as you don't resell it, you're good.
Right, exactly. So, I went through, my dad had, he showed it to me and I was like, oh my God, this is so fucking awesome, bro. And what was nuts about it was he had also recorded a copy of one of the Ewoks movies onto the same tape. And so I got
Star
a double
Cruiser.
dose back-to-back, sort of
Star
things.
Cruiser Crash.
They actually do speak English in the second movie, which is really crazy. But
I'm a sucker for an Ewok.
So I watched Star Wars. I was a little bitty guy. I was maybe at most 3 or 4 years old. And so I only remember little bits and pieces. I remember like Luke Skywalker throwing his little grappling hook thing around that pipe and like swinging across that chasm, you know. Yeah. I remember the first R2-D2 and C-3PO first arriving on Tatooine. Little bitty shit like that, but it's all, you know, from back then. I don't remember that much. So it's a deal where I would have gone back and revisited it later had my dad not recorded Superman the movie over it. Which admittedly is a good movie, but it's not Star Wars good by any means. So.
You gotta reuse those VHS, brother.
But we still had the Ewok movie, so I still watched the shit out of that. But anyway, it wasn't until later. It was right before the 1997 special editions that George Lucas came out with that I went through and watched not only the first movie again, but the other two. Dude, I was in love. And then I got to watch him with all the special edition stuff, all the CGI, which I thought was really cool because I was stupid. So, because I was 13. So I thought computer shit was cool. And so, like, watching all these horribly animated creatures and shit that George Lucas added posthumously, I thought was awesome. And so whenever they came out on VHS, got myself, we actually did do some pirating this time. We rented them from Blockbuster, and my dad fobbed them off onto a VHS. And so this is no bullshit. Literally in junior high school, like the summer before I started, I want to say 9th grade, I watched the entire Star Wars trilogy at least once a week, every week.
Wow.
Yeah, it was crazy, dude. And I memorized everything about them. I would say that Star Wars A New Hope is a movie that I've seen more than any other movie by a long stretch.
Wow.
Long mark. But so I went through and I watched those fucking movies a lot. And then like episode 1 came out and it, like all the prequels came out and it kind of cheapened the whole thing. And then George Lucas kept adding shit. And so I really don't watch it anymore. Plus I don't have any time to. And so it was a deal where, you know, every so often, like back in the day when I was working 4 days, I would try to pop in a Star Wars and try to get Madeline into it every so often, but she wasn't really feeling it. So I haven't got to sit down and watch Star Wars in quite a while. But what about you, sir?
So it's, you know, I've said multiple times on the show, I don't watch a lot of movies over and over again. Like, once I've seen it, I'm like, yeah, I've seen that.
Right.
Even if it's really great. Like, I'll go years between viewings.
Right.
This happens to be one of the rules to, what's the word? What am I
the
looking
exception
for?
to the rule.
There you go. That's what I'm
Yeah.
trying to say. One of the exceptions to the rule. This is one of those movies that even when they played it on TV, like on TBS or whatever they're playing on, I didn't change the channel.
Oh, really? You just,
Yeah, it stayed on.
I guess we're watching Star Wars. Yeah.
Yeah, it didn't matter what part of Star Wars or where it was in the movie when I picked it up or I noticed it on TV or whatever. I watched it.
Right.
One
One thing I will say real quick, you could jump into this movie anywhere and it's probably going to be a pretty exciting scene shit going
Yes.
on. But yeah. Anyway, go ahead.
No, it's just, man, I lost my train of thought. Thanks, Shane.
I'm sorry, bro. You said that you watched it on TV. You would watch it all the time on TBS. You said that you typically didn't rewatch movies that often.
Yeah. So when I say Star Wars, this is the movie that pops in my head.
Right. Yes.
More than Empire Strikes Back, more than a Jedi, or what?
Return of the Jedi.
Yeah, Return of the Jedi. Man, my brain is fried.
You're spacing out, bro.
Yeah. And like this is the movie I see over and over in my head. So I think that's one of the factors into why I picked it as well. But you know, spoiler alert, great movie.
Yeah. It's fantastic. It's one of the best movies of all time. Do you mind real quick talking about George Lucas for a quick moment?
No, we might as well.
Caveat into that. Because he's kind of an interesting character. So he did Star Wars, and his name was all over it, and he was the hot shit back in the day, obviously, after this came out. Of course, everybody thought this movie was going to flop. In fact, as it turns out, whenever they were filming the movie, I guess George Lucas took off to go to Tunisia, and he kind of gave his team of special effects guys, Industrial Light and Magic, he gave them kind of like free turkey. He's like, here's some storyboards. This is kind of what I want shit to look like. And he just turned them loose. And so anyway, he goes to film in Tunisia, comes back. Everybody had been sick, getting fucking diarrhea, you know, and shit, whatever. And horrible shoot. And there were times when Kenny Baker, the little dude in the R2-D2, I guess they like had forgotten all about him and left him in the can when they went to lunch and shit like that.
Is he mute?
No, he like, I guess you couldn't like hear him out of that fucking thing very well. And they just fucking forgot him. And he's in there just sweltering in this fucking Tunisian desert, you know? And so, anyway, you have to excuse me. I'm still getting over that funk, but it's way better than it was, so.
You've been sick for weeks.
Really, it didn't hit bad until last week after I was busting up that concrete, but it's all right. Maybe I have AIDS. I don't know. I've been losing weight too, so no, I probably don't.
Let's hope not.
All right. So anyway, George Lucas gets done filming Tunisia. He comes back to Industrial Light and Magic, his crew of boys that are working with him. And he looks, and they haven't fucking got shit done. And what they did get done looked like fucking garbage. And so basically, he had to go back to 20th Century Fox and try to up the budget. Well, and I think I mentioned on here, part of his original deal was that he got all the money for all the toys that he sold. So he never had to worry about a budget really after this movie. But he went through, he was trying to get, I guess, and I might be getting details of this story wrong. You'll have to forgive me. But he got together a bunch of guys, Francis Ford Coppola, Steven Spielberg, Brian De Palma, all these other directors. He didn't have any of the visual effects done, and I don't think they had any sound effects or music added. And he went through and he showed it to these guys, what he had, and they were like, what the fuck? Steven Spielberg was the only one that saw the potential there, but Brian De Palma literally said that it was one of the worst things he'd ever seen in his life. And
yeah, he's notorious for talking shit about this.
Yeah, he does not care for, I guess, I don't know if maybe it turned out better than it thought he would, or if he still hates it, but I don't know.
You know, with that story, there's two things that came to mind. Number one, anytime you mention ILM, Industrial Light and Magic,
yes,
I automatically think of Mythbusters.
Okay.
Because you know the two main guys, they were like big parts of ILM.
Oh, I didn't know they were visual effects guys.
Yeah, it's if
That's
you think
cool.
now think about Mythbusters, and it makes complete sense.
Oh yeah. And then they have like a ton of resources, and they know how to fucking make explosions look like a certain shit and whatever. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then the second thing, while you're telling that story, that makes me think of is the toys. Have you ever watched the Netflix series The Toys That Made Us?
No, you've mentioned it, but I have not watched it.
There's an episode about Star Wars, and George Lucas had the damnedest time finding somebody to distribute toys for him.
Oh yeah. Apparently, I guess around Christmas season, they didn't have enough toys. And so what they would do is sell these kids an empty box, basically, with a voucher saying that whenever we get supplies, then we'll send you one. And so these kids just have a fucking empty box on their shelf, you know, for displaying. But yeah, they could not keep up with demand. Everybody thought this would flop. That's crazy.
He couldn't get a company to make them.
Oh yeah, I think Kenner finally did.
Yeah, it was Kenner Toys, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Kenner was a way smaller toy company.
They cashed in though.
Oh,
promise. Yeah. Who did because I know that somebody else took over after Disney took over. I don't remember who. After Disney bought Lucasfilm and started doing Star Wars toys.
Fucking Lego, who knows?
Yeah. Well, they have sold out to Lego, but anyway, George Lucas is weird though, man, cuz his fans kind of hate him and love him and all that. They loved him up until episode 1, and then they hated him.
Prequels.
Yeah, they started hating on him, and now that Disney took over, there's a bunch of disgruntled fans who are like, I wish George was back. So, grass is always greener, I guess, you know. One of those fucking things.
I'm going to blame Jar Jar Binks. That's what I'll do.
There's a lot wrong with those. A lot of shit went wrong with those
We'll talk
movies.
about that one next week.
We will. So anyway, in 1997, George Lucas thought it would be cool to come out. He was basically amping up up to do the Star Wars prequels.
The prequels, yeah.
Yeah. And at that point, so what had happened was right before 1997, with the release of the Nintendo 64, there was a game that came out, and it was basically like this mass marketing campaign.
Was it called Pod Racer?
It was called Shadows of the Empire.
Oh.
Yeah, Pod Racer didn't come out until after episode 1, obviously. But
I fucking love that game.
I love it too. I got a copy on my shelf. But
That was so good, dude. I would fuck up. Dude, I was in the Marines when that movie came out, and me and my Marine Corps buddies would be sitting there playing Pod Racer.
Fucking Pod Racer. The few and the proud, huh?
Yep.
Anyway, so there was this mass marketing deal with Star Wars Shadows of the Empire. They came out with a book. They came out with a comic book series. They came out with a video game. They even released the soundtrack to the video game separately. Because it actually did have a really cool score to it. It was not John Williams that did it, but it was, it was very much his-esque, yeah, his sort of thing. You do know that name.
We've said that name a lot.
A lot, yeah. So anyway, after that, he was wanting to test the water again, so the Star Wars hype is starting to get pumped up. And it was really kind of a cool marketing idea on his part, because as far as I know, there was no official Lucasfilm release of Star Wars that had occurred in quite a while. And so in 1997, he came out with the special edition, and they all hit the theaters again, and he put some extra shit in there. And since then, in 2004, he came out with the DVDs and released some extra shit. And then he came out with the Blu-ray in 2011 and put some more extra shit in there. And then he sold Star Wars, and it stopped altogether. So it's kind of a weird deal. But what's crazy about it, though, is there's a lot of fans that are not too pleased with a lot of the changes that were made. And I would recommend, and I think I may have mentioned them on here before, but if you are really into Star Wars, but you don't have the original edits of them, I think the last official Star Wars cut of the originals without the extra shit in it was a separate DVD release, but it was just like a transfer from the Laserdisc, so it kind of looks like shit. But I would check out the Harmy's Despecialized Edition, and it's this fellow, I believe he's from Norway or something, but he has gone through... Harmy, yeah, I think that's his last name. But he has gone through and taken the original cuts of the Laserdisc, the ones that came out on DVD. He's upscaled them to a Blu-ray. What am I looking for? Yeah, Blu-ray quality. I believe it's 720, if not 1080. But anyway, he has gone through and removed all the extra shit, and he actually used the George Lucas Blu-ray cut from the scenes that hadn't been fucked around with, and he redid all the audio and everything, and so it's actually the original cut, but it's Blu-ray quality, so I would recommend checking those out.
Nice.
Anyway, let's I don't know, do you want to talk about the cast on this, I guess?
Well, let's run numbers first.
Okay. The numbers are interesting.
I'm very curious. I've done zero research.
Okay. I'm glad. Let's see who we have here. Okay. This movie was made on a budget of $11 million.
Wow.
Yep. $11 million. I forgot how many weeks I said it was.
6.
Oh, God, you're way the fuck off. Here,
too high or too low?
Occupy these guys while I tally these numbers real quick here, bro.
Okay. So, people listening out there, while Shane tries to do some math, not one of his strong suits by any stretch of the imagination. I got a really great shot of his face right now as he's like squinting his eyes trying to do the math.
Okay, you ready?
Looking good. Oh, okay. Yes.
20 weeks.
Woo,
20 weeks,
boy,
number
that's
one.
a hit.
Yes, sir. It was, it actually, yeah, it was Christmas time before it dropped down to the number 3 spot. So.
That's a smash, dude.
That is a fucking smash. Do you dare to guess how much money it made in the U.S., all told?
$230 million.
You are exactly 100% off. It was 460, almost 461 million.
What a smash hit, dude.
It's crazy.
What's
the
that?
amount of money.
A 40-to-1 return?
Yeah. Yep. Over that, but yeah.
Wow.
Yes, sir. It's crazy, dude. I don't know. That's some fucking money right there.
If I could quote my homie Cher, if I could turn back time, I'd be rich.
One of my favorites is in the TV show Lost, and they end up doing some time traveling in that show. And there's the dude Hurley, that's the overweight guy, and everybody that's not on the show keeps wondering why he still weighs as much as he does, since they're basically
on a
eating
desert
coconuts.
island.
Right. But anyway, after they do some time traveling, they went back to like 1978 or 79 or something like that. And he's writing shit down, and somebody's like, "What do you keep writing?" And he's like, "I'm writing The Empire Strikes Back." He's like, "But I'm doing just a couple changes, making it better." It's fucking hilarious. Do you want to do some names real quick?
Sure, let's get after it. We can't forget the homie Harrison Ford.
Harrison Ford, big deal back then.
Carrie Fisher.
He was so full of life and interesting to watch. Nowadays, he just kind of looks like a schlub. Like, you really couldn't give a fuck, about being there. But
I'm a big fan.
Yeah, no, he's great. But he just looks like he just doesn't really... He's just not feeling it anymore to me. But I digress.
But Carrie Fisher.
R.I.P.
Yeah, rest in peace, Carrie.
Mark Hamill.
Of course.
Yep.
I didn't know Mark Hamill's name until like the prequels came out.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
We've got the wonderful Alec Guinness playing Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Obi-Wan.
He actually grew to hate this series because this
I've
is
not
what he
heard
was
that
most
name in a long time.
Right. This is what he was most known for, obviously, because it was the biggest thing ever at the time, and he just thought it was foolishness. He just wasn't into it at all.
He's like quite the accomplished classic style English actor, right?
Oh yeah, he's done a ton of shit, but they only knew him as Ben Kenobi, so whatever. Peter Cushing playing Grand Moff Tarkin. He was actually interesting because he starred in a bunch of those. We talked about the Hammer horror movies whenever we talked about The Mummy, and they did a bunch of old Frankensteins and shit. And Peter Cushing shows up, but he plays Grand Moff Tarkin. Anthony Daniels plays C-3PO. Kenny Baker, R.I.P. R2-D2. Peter Mayhew just died. The guy that was Chewbacca. Yeah, that's a shame. That's a damn shame. And then, of course, David Prowse plays Darth Vader, the guy in the suit in all three movies.
But the guy's voice we hear is James motherfucking Earl Jones.
Yes, sir.
No better voice for Darth Vader.
No.
Nobody else could have done that.
Back in the day, I was actually dating this girl. And
did she sound like James Earl Jones in the sack?
No, she did not. Oh. Oh, shit. That would be awesome. Yeah, exactly. She did when she slept, but no. I was showing her Star Wars, and then, like, Darth Vader, whose intro into this movie is nothing short of fantastic. He walks into the room, surveys a bunch of dead bodies, and he's like, cool. He keeps on going, man. It's fucking awesome. But basically, he said something, and she was like, his voice sounds kind of stupid. And I was like, you fucking sound kind of stupid.
This relationship is over, madam.
Right? Why don't you go fuck off somewhere? Oh, shit. Crazy, crazy, crazy.
Do you have a summary for us, Shane?
I do have a summary. Now, keep in mind, I had been participating in some recently legal activities whenever I wrote the summary. And looking back on it, I think I left some shit out. So we'll go over that.
Okay.
But there you go. Star Wars. The film that needs no introduction was released May 25th, 1977. It was directed by George Lucas, the man who kicked off the Marvel Cinematic Universe with Howard the Duck. As the film opens, the scene is set for us in the form of exposition traveling up the screen. We're in another galaxy, and in this galaxy there's an oppressive dictatorship known as the Empire. There's another faction or group of resistance fighters called the Rebellion. We're also told that a super weapon that the Empire has built, known as the Death Star, that has enough firepower to destroy a planet, has schematics that have been leaked to the Princess Leia. We then see a large spaceship overtaking a smaller spaceship, all the while orbiting over a planet. Inside, Princess Leia gives a message to a small cylindrical android named R2-D2. He and his gold-laden android life partner C-3PO make their escape in one of their ship's escape pods, just as Darth Vader arrives aboard the ship. He's the villain who's laden in a black cloak and mask. Red Foreman would describe him as the guy with a breathing problem. Meanwhile, the escape pod finds its way to the planet's surface, where R2-D2 and C-3PO find themselves on the black market and soon bought by the family of one Luke Skywalker.
In Tatooine.
On Tatooine, yes.
You know his family was moisture farmers?
We'll talk about that. We do need to talk about that, though, because there's a lot of shit going on with fucking moisture farmers.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, it's a big deal, but Luke, his profession is in high demand on the desert of Tatooine. His aunt, as a moisture farmer, his aunt, on the other hand, spends her days trying to keep dirt out of her hair. All the while, R2-D2 refuses to shut up about some mission he is on, and no one takes him seriously until he turns up missing. The following morning, while Luke is searching for R2-D2, he comes across Obi-Wan Kenobi, the person R2-D2 has been searching for. Obi-Wan explains to Luke that he knows who he is, was good friends with his father, and that his father was killed by Darth Vader. He also brings up the Force, a mystical energy that binds all living things that can give people that are strong with the Force some supernatural abilities. People that use the Force for good call themselves Jedi. Obi-Wan also gives Luke his father's lightsaber, his father being Anakin Skywalker, of course, the weapon of a Jedi. It appears to be nothing but a handle, but when activated has a blade made of light, not unlike a glowing sword.
Laser sword.
Yep, pretty much. That's all it is. Soon after, Obi-Wan reviews the information R2-D2 is containing, which turns out to be a recording of Princess Leia asking Obi-Wan for his help, and that his assistance is needed on the planet Alderaan. Obi-Wan pleads with Luke to go to Alderaan with him, but Luke insists that he has to go back home. On the way, though, Luke notices a black market dealer's family bought the androids from having been... What? Oh, okay. Luke notices the black market dealers his family bought the androids from have been slaughtered and returns home to see his aunt and uncle also dead. After this revelation, Luke decides to go with Obi-Wan. Man, what a fucking poorly structured sentence that was. Holy fuck, bro.
Medicine can do weird things to people.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. Finally, this Death Star is revealed to us, and it's not disappointing. It's a giant sphere the size of a moon. Unfortunately, Darth Vader has to share his authority with one Governor Tarkin, who, after several attempts to get Princess Leia to reveal the location of the Rebels' hidden base, decides to destroy Alderaan, her home planet, then schedules her execution. Back on Tatooine, Obi-Wan and Luke procure flight with one Han Solo and his co-pilot Chewbacca, the 8-foot-tall fur baby. After some brief gunplay with Imperial stormtroopers, they're soon on their way, and Obi-Wan briefly trains Luke on how to communicate with the Force. Upon their arrival at Alderaan, they're only greeted with debris and an unwanted stay on the Death Star. The group soon sneak aboard the ship, rescue Princess Leia, and make their way back, but only after Obi-Wan sacrifices himself in a lightsaber duel with Darth Vader. After the Millennium Falcon makes its escape and is attacked by Imperial TIE fighters, Luke, Han, Leia, R2-D2, and C-3PO all make it to the Rebel base on Yavin 4. The Empire, however, has tracked them and is headed their way. Fortunately, it seems the Death Star does have a vulnerability, and that a pilot can fire a missile down its exhaust into its reactor, and that's a wrap.
Poor design.
Yeah, until you watch Rogue One, I guess. And it kind of fills in a big old plot hole, but yeah. I'll tell you a worse design is in the Return of the Jedi, where they're like, we'll just make the holes bigger so you can fly a whole ship down here now. Horrible. Luke, after word of his piloting skills gets around, is allowed to join the attack, but Han declines as he's been compensated for his return of Princess Leia, and he's taking the money and running. The attack commences as the Death Star approaches firing range. Initially, things seem to be going well, but the rebel pilots numbers soon dwindle until it's just Luke and a couple of other guys. After a faulty targeting computer causes one pilot to miss the exhaust, a ghostly voice from Obi-Wan tells Luke to let the Force target for him. Just before he can fire, though, Han races to the scene just in time to prevent Darth Vader from destroying Luke. Luke successfully destroys the Death Star, Darth Vader lives to see another day, and everybody except Chewbacca gets a medal. This film stars Carrie Cokenail Fisher and Dr. Richard I Didn't Kill My Wife Kimball.
Oh.
Yeah. I think my voice is giving out. But anyway.
I think you pretty much summed it up well.
I did. I left out a couple of kind of major parts. It kind of sets up some later stuff in later movies, whereas the whole thing with Han Solo, he actually is a smuggler, and he was transporting some illegal shit when the Empire stopped him, I guess, and he jettisoned his cargo because they were going to find it, and now he owes money to Jabba the Hutt, who has put a price on his head.
Yeah, old Jabba does make a cameo in this one.
He does. Thanks to poor CGI and bad editing. But, I don't know. Let's talk about Jabba's appearance in this movie real quick.
Was he not originally in this?
They had filmed a deleted scene with some Irish dude that was kind of standing in for Jabba, and he was speaking English and everything. And so whenever they did the re-release, George cleaned up that scene and CGI'd in Jabba the Hutt, and now he's stepping on his tail and bebopping and scatting all over the place. It's ridiculous. But I don't know. If George still owns Star Wars, I would recommend that he go through, given his resources that he has, which are vast, that he go through and find a way to maybe CGI Han Solo and walk in front of Jabba the Hutt if he has to keep that scene in there. So, just a suggestion. But it's hypothetical because he can't. Yeah.
He got $4 billion for it.
Mm-hmm. To be fair, if I'd created Star Wars, I'd have sold that fucker for $4 billion. Shit.
$4 billion?
That's stupid money right there, bro.
It is.
Yep.
What is there to say about this movie other than it's badass? One of the coolest villains ever.
Oh, yeah. He's definitely the most iconic.
Darth Vader is such a cool bad dude.
It's a great design. What's neat about it is, I guess, originally George Lucas wanted him to have some sort of cloth mask. And then they were like, I don't think we can really do that. And so they came up with that as an alternative. And it just kind of was created out of necessity more than anything, I guess. So
he is cloaked head to toe in black.
Mm-hmm.
His costume is heavily samurai inspired.
Right.
He's huge. He's the biggest dude on the screen.
You can hear him breathing a mile away.
Yeah. He could use the Force. He takes no shit from anyone.
No, he does not. He just chokes that one dude out. He's like, fuck this guy. He's like, he chokes his fucking ass out, and then he's like, bring me another one.
I think, like, his first appearance on the film, he just picks up that one dude and slams him into the wall.
That's one of the first ones, yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. I don't think that George Lucas knows anymore what makes Star Wars great, unfortunately. And I don't think that Disney has a handle on it either. And I don't think that writing a Star Wars movie, I think that that's probably the last thing I would want to write if I was in Hollywood. Because what a fucking spoiled brat audience. And I'm guilty as any of them. I just would not want to be on that kind of shit list, dude. Because Rian Johnson, everybody hates that dude after The Last Jedi.
They really should hire some super fans that have written like some fan fiction to write a script.
I hear you. One thing that I think that's cool is there's people that are actually calling for the guy, I guess Dave Filoni is his name, and he does the cartoon shit with Star Wars, and it apparently is awesome. I don't know. I don't watch that shit, but people are saying that they would really like it if he took over because he's actually got like a really tight narrative going all throughout the show, you know, whatever show it is.
J.J. Abrams the showrunner now?
No, it's still kind of being run by Kathleen Kennedy, as far as I can tell. I mean, she's hired JJ to direct 2 of the new trilogy movies, but she still kind of has to. I mean, he still kind of has to go with whatever she says. Bottom line, So
Rogue One, that was episode 7, right?
The Force Awakens.
The Force Awakens. Rogue One's an independent thing, kind of like Solo.
Right, Star Wars story, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. A Force Awakens. So I feel like they were on the right track with The Force Awakens, but when I really watched The Force Awakens a second and a third time, I realized that we're kind of watching episode 4 again.
It does borrow heavily from episode 4. Kind of Han Solo's the stand-in for Obi-Wan now.
Right.
And, I mean, swap a couple roles around, and it's basically kind of is pretty
Rey
similar.
and Luke.
Right. Of course, the
biggest
Star Killer base, and then the Death Star, that shit.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, it does borrow heavily from it. I think that Disney was really trying to just play it safe after the fan reaction to the prequels. They were trying to give the fans something that was familiar to go off of. And I could see from the first time I watched it, it was pretty blatant copy. But then they tried to subvert everybody's expectations with The Last Jedi, and I don't think succeeded there. So figure that out. I'll tell you what. So the preview or the trailer for this new Star Wars movie just came out. The Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker, they're calling it.
I still haven't seen it.
Yeah. Well, the title of the film's a little on the nose, I think, using somebody's name in it. That's never happened before, but I have no excitement about watching that movie. There's just nothing to lead into to go off of for me to get jazzed about that showed up in The Last Jedi.
All right, well, let's talk about The New Hope.
Okay.
A New Hope. I want to mention just a brief overview of some of the things that he did in this movie that I think is why I and so many millions of others really enjoy it. Number one, our boy who did the soundtrack,
John Williams.
It's
Fantastic.
all live scored. All live score. Even the sound effects. Did you know that?
Did he do the sound effects? I thought it was another guy.
Yeah, but it's all live. Like, even there's no synthesizers used in the original.
Oh yeah, no. There's some interesting documentaries actually about how they got some of the sound effects, like taking like a steel cable and like running a razor down it and shit, and that's how they would get like the TIE fighters flying by and stuff like that.
That's exactly what I was thinking about. Was the TIE fighter, yeah. Like that screaming sound, and that's practically made.
Iconic. If you ever hear that sound, I mean, I'll watch a movie like The Incredibles, and they'll throw in little Star Wars sound effects just as like an Easter egg. They're easy to pick out because the sound design for this movie is fantastic. It doesn't sound cheesy. It sounds like that these are noises that these fictional machines would actually make. It's perfect.
Yeah,
fantastic.
And without those sounds. Oh, Jesus, Shane is dying.
Nope.
Without those sounds, it's not the same movie. Without that score, without the sound effect, it's not the same movie.
Right. I agree.
I mean, even like Luke's song.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, whenever you hear that, you feel hopeful and you feel comfortable. Mm-hmm. Like you're in a safe place. Especially,
and this is something that I kind of take for granted because I've seen Star Wars so many times, but since it's been a while for me to watch episode 4, I really go through, like whenever he's checking out that binary sun that he has going on the sunset. I do want to talk briefly about how Star Wars was saved in its edit, if you don't mind, if you'll indulge me. Sure. So George Lucas was married to the editor of the film at the time. Her name was Marcia Lucas. Even though she's been remarried and stuff, she still goes by Marcia Lucas, which if I was one of her newer husbands, it seems trivial, but would bother me. But whatever.
It depends. Did she make me sign a prenup or not?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, the prenup does change shit. So
If there's no prenup, I will call her Mrs. Lucas if she wants me to.
Call her whatever she wants. You can call her fuck farts if she wants, you know. But so she won the Oscar for this movie for her editing job in it. And I've got to say, if you look through, there is a video on YouTube that goes through and it talks about all the things that George Lucas had thrown into this movie, and she looked at it and was like, "Oh God!" and she took footage and cut shit out, and she filmed her own shit and threw it in there, and she did it seamlessly so you wouldn't even know about it, and fucking really made this movie into something. One of the things is at the beginning, whenever the Star Destroyer is chasing down that little blockade runner, the Tantive 4 as they call it. What George Lucas had done is he had filmed a bunch of scenes that had taken place on Tatooine, where Luke Skywalker is like looking up and he's looking at the battle and stuff like that that's taking place, and then like he goes to town and he like visits his buddies, and he's like, man, I saw something up there, and all this other shit that's just like sprinkled in, all these deleted scenes, and it really kind of ruins the flow of what's going on in space. She didn't feel like that was a good introduction for Luke. She really wanted Luke to be doing something that contributed to the story whenever you first see him, you know, doing some farm-related stuff at least, you know.
Well, and it's fun. I don't hear very many complaints about this film. Occasionally you'll hear that it's a little too slow-paced.
Right.
So you imagine if like she left all that crap in there.
Yeah, this movie go on an extra 30 minutes of fucking bullshit that doesn't matter, you know?
Yeah.
So another thing that she did was whenever they're trying to, or C-3PO, R2-D2's hacked into the Death Star, and C-3PO's trying to explain where the tractor beam is to have it deactivated or whatever. She actually filmed that scene where it shows all those different diagrams and shit, and then it zooms in and there's like that glowing thing. She was like, that'll help the audience like understand what the fuck we're talking about, you know? And so there's that. She also went through, apparently George Lucas in the original cut of this film did not put the rebel base in any kind of harm's way. He treated the final Death Star fight as basically it was just them attacking the Death Star. They weren't getting close to the rebel base. They weren't tracking it, nothing like that. And so she thought that it would be cool. If you notice the Princess Leia, it never shows her looking over like that fucking computer pad thing where it shows the Death Star moving in a position. And that's because all those scenes where it shows the Death Star moving around that planet into position are scenes that Marcia Lucas added. And she thought that it would give it more suspense if everybody was in trouble. And basically, because if like the fucking battle doesn't go as planned, they can just send more fucking people to attack it later. Yeah.
Well,
so
she was correct, sir.
She was correct. Did a great job of adding suspense because fucking they were ready to go before Luke dropped the bomb. So, you know, it was pretty neat. I think that all of those different components kind of working together really helped George Lucas make something out of this fucking crazy idea of a movie that he had. So, and I'll tell you, if I had seen his original edit, if I was Brian De Palma, I probably would have fucking shit all over it too. So,
it'd be kind of interesting to see, though, wouldn't it be?
It would be. Yeah, I have to agree.
Let's talk about the effects.
Shall we?
So, I don't remember what edition. You probably do better than I do. But do you remember when like they kind of re-released 4, 5, and 6, and you could see the outlines of like the small scale models, like the cutout.
Yeah, I remember that.
All that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like it got a lot of shit for that.
It did.
But it's just because they like cleaned up the image so you could see those things now.
Right. Yeah, they took all the dirt and shit off the film. Yeah.
Yeah, but if you look at the original cut of those effects with the small scale models, I mean, it was amazing the amount of detail that they had in these models.
Well, I think that that's kind of what people don't like about this special edition is the fact that they haven't really gone through and added anything, but instead we have these effects that were really innovative at the time, that were groundbreaking visual effects. And it's like George Lucas wants to ignore the fact that they he thinks that it's like a blemish when it actually was a huge triumph for like all of movie making at the time, you know? And so I think that people are just kind of pissed off about that. Of course, there's the dumb shit like the Jabba shit. One thing that I will say is I sent you the link to those YouTube videos comparing the Star Wars original shit versus the re-release shit. Did you get a chance to look at that?
I did not, man.
Oh, okay.
I had people over here this weekend. I was super slammed.
Yeah, no, I understand. The thing that I think kind of works better is at the end of the movie, there's a lot of space battle shit going on. And I think that it actually looks really good, the stuff that he's gone through and redone. I can see why people would want to keep it the way it was originally, but I'm down for that. As far as like the creature effects, the Jabba the Hutt shit, any type of skin or anything like that looks like crap, I think. There's the one part where Obi-Wan does the mind control thing over the stormtrooper, and there's like a thing where that fucking CGI glob of bullshit walks in front of the camera, and you're like, what are you doing? You know?
Didn't need that.
Really bad, yeah. But no, the old ones do get, I mean, the original visuals are dated, but they're still really crazy, though, you know? Just crazy visuals, but I don't know.
I love all the practical effects they use. Like, I think one of the reasons why Stormtroopers has such bad aim is so that you can see the impacts.
Yeah, I could see that. Like
you couldn't have those sparks flying off your actors.
Right. No, I agree. I do agree with that. Well, you really can't have the heroes getting shot either. So
right.
People have speculated that a lot of the stormtroopers are forced to be there, and so they're kind of missing on purpose. I don't know. It seems trivial.
Well,
but
if you throw in the fact that there was a tracker on the Millennium Falcon, it makes sense they're missing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, they wanted him to fucking leave. That does
right.
make total sense. So, there you go. They didn't want it to look obvious, but yeah. So
yeah, they couldn't just like open the door and be like, bye.
Right. Okay. We'll see ya. I would be interested to learn how much of this shit George Lucas actually had in mind back in the day, because I think he had some of it. A lot of people will tell you, no, it was all planned from fucking Jump Street.
George Lucas would tell you it was all planned from Jump Street.
And George Lucas full of shit, too.
There's a lot of people out there who will say he did not,
Yeah.
to include that he didn't plan any sequels.
He said lots of times that he never planned on doing sequels, and now there's shit coming out that he actually had written like a script for a sequel trilogy. So there you go. But apparently he was really going to get into like the midichlorians quite a bit that were featured in episode 1 that are like help you communicate with the Force, these little biological microscopic organisms. It's really stupid. But I think the opening scene does a great job of depicting an underdog being pursued by this predatory thing. It doesn't have any dialogue, but it tells you everything that you need to know pretty much about what's going on. There's this fucking guy, and they're kicking the fuck out of this little bitty ship, you know?
Right. If you look at our stormtroopers are all white, but it's hiding black.
Mm-hmm.
You can tell the suit they're wearing underneath the armor is black. So they're trying to hide the fact that they're all evil.
And they got black eyes, like they're lifeless and shit, and yeah. I think that you're onto something, and in fact, I was going to make mention of the fact that in this movie, Luke Skywalker, as you said, wears all white. In the next movie, he's wearing this like a rebel flight suit looking type deal, and it's gray. So I think that it shows that he could go either way, really. He's still kind of up in the air as far as, you know, he doesn't really know enough to completely persuade himself from joining the dark side. And then in the last movie, it shows him wearing all black. And so it's one of those that it's like he's, you know, basically going down a similar path that his dad could have. And so he has the potential to turn to the dark side, you know. So
yeah, you see the real inner turmoil he's facing with all that.
Oh yeah. I did write this down, and I think this is interesting, and I never paid any attention to it, even though I've seen this movie 1,000 times. My older sister, she was dating this guy back in the day, and he said, Star Wars is okay. And I said, what are you talking about? And he said, well, the whole trilogy kind of hinges off of there's two guys, and if they had shot that escape pod that C-3PO and R2-D2 were in, the whole trilogy would be over.
Yeah.
They never would have found Obi-Wan. Chances are they were already building the second Death Star, so now there'd be two of those motherfuckers rolling around. It'd be bad.
What's funny is why didn't they shoot that escape pod?
They didn't pick up any life signs.
Right. So you're telling me that it's a bad thing to shoot an empty pod.
Right. Because she could have just put the message in the pod and launched it, you know.
Or let's just get rid of one pod.
Yeah. Who gives? It's not even your ship. You're not paying for it. What do you give a fuck, you know?
So do they get like promotions based off of like kill ratios?
Or like you destroyed less than a dozen pods this month. You know, you get a bonus on like is
right.
Destroying these fucking life pods like a big problem or what? You know, these escape pods? I don't get it.
Because he was like targeted.
Yeah.
Like we got a target. Don't shoot. There's no life
Don't do that. Yeah. What a fucking idiot.
Yeah.
I like the big skeleton of that sandworm. I thought that fucker was cool. I wish that he was integrated into the movie somehow. But I guess that was just a reference to Dune. So go figure. I think it's cool in the Battlefront 2, the old Battlefront 2, you get to shoot Jawas, which is awesome. Those little hooded fucks.
Apparently they have their own like standalone story or something.
Oh, I don't know about that. I know the Ewoks did. I don't know about Jawas. But
Yeah, apparently there's some type of something that explains more
like
about
a
the
book
Jawas.
or I'm sure he's all over like Wikipedia and shit, but I don't know. I think that Gonk droid, he's the one that looks like the trash can. He's got to be the most worthless fucking thing in the galaxy, man. He just walks around saying Gonk all the time. Gonk, Gonk. Let's talk about moisture farming.
Oh, I'm glad we saved that for towards the end here.
Yeah. So I wrote down it has to be the lamest job in the galaxy.
I don't Is it to emphasize how dry it is there?
Yes. Apparently these guys, he talks about harvest season and like the moisture evaporators and shit. So I was kind of wondering, I have a lot of questions about this moisture farming. And granted, this movie is not about moisture farming, so it really doesn't fucking matter anyway. But he talks about harvest season. I would like to know where the fuck he's getting this water from. Is it from the ground? Because if so, I'm thinking, well, what are you harvesting if you're just drilling for water? You probably just put it in a fucking tank somewhere, and there's really no harvesting to be done, I would say. And then I thought, well, maybe he's talking about harvesting it off of maybe where they get water from is it builds up in like the form of condensation, like dew at night. Maybe there's just like this super high humidity on fucking Tatooine. And then I was like, well, we never really see any water. And if there was water, then or if there was humidity, it would probably rain more. And then everybody would.
Vegetation.
Yeah, there'd be vegetation. Everybody would have water, so we wouldn't have to farm for moisture, you know? So I really don't know what's going on.
I think it's just so arid that literally they're trying to pull any little bit of moisture they can out of the air.
They could, yeah. It might be. I mean, you're living on a planet with two suns. You know? I mean, that's going to fucking happen, bro. I don't even know why anybody would want to live there. The rent must be cheap as fuck. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, that's pretty weird. Let's talk about Luke going to the academy, because I had a lot of questions about that for a while.
Okay.
I was like, is there a Rebel Academy?
I barely remember him going to the academy.
Well, he mentions that he's like, hey, if things work out with these new droids, I'd like to submit my application to the academy a year early. And that's when Uncle Owen starts talking shit, and he's like, well, I'm going to need you because we're doing harvest and shit, basically. But I
think he's talking about the Empire Academy.
That's kind of what I think, and people have all but confirmed that to me. So what happens apparently is pretty
Solo
common.
went.
Yeah, he did. He's wearing the pants. So
yeah.
what happens apparently is it's not uncommon for people that are going to the academy to train to be a pilot for the Empire to, in the middle of some sort of simulation, just drop ship and take off. And the Empire really doesn't do shit about it because it happens so frequently that they're like, fuck it. We're probably not going to catch him. And so I guess that's what they do is they collect as many skills as they can and then they'll just fucking drop ship. So it's whatever. The dude that sasses Darth Vader. What a fucking dumbass.
The conference room?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You might want to fucking watch your mouth, bro. Just say.
That's some gangster shit.
It is gangster, dude.
He insults his religion, then he just air chokes the fuck out of him.
Hell yeah. It's fucking funny, man. I like how Luke is handed this lightsaber and then points it right at his fucking face.
Like kids do with guns,
What
man.
a dumbass. Yeah, for real. There was oh man, what is it here? That guy, I called him Dick Nose. He's that fucking guy that ratted him out in Mos Eisley, the one that squeaked when he talked, that called the stormtroopers on him. He's a real fucking asshole. But the dice in Star Wars. So I think this was originally a joke. And now Disney has taken these fucking dice that were hanging from Han Solo's rearview mirror in the Millennium Falcon and have really made that like a big part of his fucking lineage, man.
Yeah, it's all over Solo.
Yeah, it's all over Solo. Fucking Luke Skywalker hands him to Princess Leia in The Last Jedi. But then again, Luke Skywalker wasn't really there, so he might not have really handed her anything. I don't fucking know.
And doesn't Leia... Does Rey give him to Leia?
Luke gives him to Leia, and I think Leia gives him to Rey, I want to say.
But after Han died...
Right.
And Force Awakens.
Yeah, well, they were in the Millennium Falcon already, and then Luke stole him from her whenever she went and found Luke on that fucking stupid-ass planet where he plays with the alien tits.
Oh, did you notice there's blue milk in this movie?
Yeah. Yep. Blue milk.
So when he was milking that beetle cow thing, it was a callback.
Was it blue, the shit that he was milking that thing out of?
Yeah, it was blue. The milk was blue.
Okay. That's cool. Okay. So for people that aren't super familiar with the lore of Star Wars, and I'm not, because I've read, I think, one of the books, but I have played Shadows of the Empire, and that thing, that eyeball that was sticking up out of the fucking water in the trash compactor scene, that fucker's called a Dianoga, okay? And what it does is it starts out as like a smaller organism, and then it grows into something big that's in like a large part of an underwater portion of the ship, like a large septic tank or something like that. Mm-hmm. And then basically it will use tentacles, and it has an eyeball at the end of a tentacle, and it will go up through the drainage up into various parts of its surroundings and look for shit to fucking eat, and then it will grab it with the tentacle and take it back down to where it resides. So that is what that was.
Interesting.
But then I heard the walls closing in, and he was like, fuck it, I'm out. Ain't that hungry. Juice ain't worth the squeeze, literally.
It does remind me, Han cracks a little line there. He says, we're all going to be a little bit thinner. Yeah. And I love the use of comedy in this.
A lot of the lines are super cheesy, but they're funny, though. They're
all dad jokes.
Yeah, they are. One of my favorites is...
This movie was PG, so...
Right, it was. The one thing that cracks me up is whenever Obi-Wan's like, I have to follow a different path than you, and he like goes out to turn off that tractor beam or whatever that fucking thing was. Han Solo looks at Luke, and he's like, where did you dig up that old fossil? And Luke says, Obi-Wan's a great man. And Han says, yeah, great at getting us into trouble. It's so fucking funny. That line always cracks me up. Just it's so stupid. Oh, but yeah, there's some lighthearted moments. There's some good stuff. Oh God, what did I do? I was looking at a note, and I was going to ask you something. I don't know.
Cool story.
Let's see. Oh, I think. I don't know.
The fans love dead air, Shane.
Yeah, I don't know. I was looking at something. Oh, I don't remember who mentioned it, but I've done this since I was little. Do you ever hold your breath during movies to see if you would survive in a situation where you're being held underwater?
I haven't done that. I haven't done that since I was a little kid.
I still do it. I do it often. See if I'd survive. But yeah. I did have some questions. So with R2-D2, it's a guy in a suit, as I mentioned. I think for whatever reason, I am just mesmerized by that fucking costume. For the longest time, I had no idea that that was a guy in a suit. And maybe that makes me sound like I'm a fucking amateur, like Star Wars viewer. But I had no idea. I figured it was a remote control deal and they could like swivel his fucking head around. Or there was
Yeah, I don't know why you would really need a guy in a suit.
Well, it's really weird. I don't know how it works, the suit. Because it looks as though R2-D2 is on wheels, obviously. So he's not really walking around in there. I don't know if how he's really making this thing function.
I would imagine the only thing he's doing is twisting the head.
I would think so, but I'm not sure.
Because they had RC car technology already.
Yeah, they did. I don't really know where he hid the legs either, because it looks like R2-D2 has wheels. So is this dude like super spread eagle doing the splits in there? Or what the fuck is going on, man? That's a crazy suit.
He's squatting in there. It's a small person.
Yeah, I know. Do you think that it is just remote control shit and he's just moving the head?
I don't know.
I don't know
That's
either.
what I'm guessing.
That's real weird, man. I would be really interested I bet there is a YouTube video about that. I'd be interested to find out though. Let's see here. I guess George Lucas, his major direction whenever he was directing this movie was quote unquote faster and more intense. Every scene, it was no, it needs to be faster, more intense. Yeah, that's all he would tell him. And so it wasn't until Empire they got real direction. So
it was pretty fast and intense in parts.
Yeah, no, it did well. George Lucas was still pretty new at directing. He's never been a really good director of actors anyway, and I think that given that and how little experience a couple of these actors had, I think that they all did really well putting this whole thing together. So, I don't know. I guess, so one last thing here is amongst Star Wars fans, you'll hear them talk about BBY, okay? And they'll be like, the original, the New Republic was so-and-so 1,000 BBY or whatever. They're talking about before the Battle of Yavin. So basically, the Battle of Yavin that takes place at the end of this movie is supposedly like this BC versus AD, like the birth of Christ sort of thing, where they go through, and that's basically on a timetable. That's what you'd be looking at, was before and after that. This is kind of marks the middle. So,
right on.
Yeah. I do also want to say that whenever we're looking at the schematic, and we're zooming in on the trench at the end whenever he's going over the battle plan and all that shit, it really gives you an idea of the scale of this thing, because they weren't able to do a whole lot of scale shots. There was one of the Millennium Falcon whenever it's being tractored into the Death Star, but you actually get a look for how big this fucking thing is, and it zooms in, and then there's this ring around the Death Star. It zooms in on that, and then it zooms in further. And you're like, fuck, this thing's massive, So I always thought that was really cool. But aside from that, I really don't have anything else to say, except I think that Chewie should have got a medal. And I'm really glad that you picked this movie, Mike, because I had a lot of fun watching it, and it's super fun to talk about. And
well, the one note I'll add to the end of this is in the ceremony where they do get their medals.
Yes.
It's almost a shot-for-shot recreation of an actual Hitler film.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's pretty bad. I did watch, so real quick, I watched this video called Film Theories. And they went through, they were talking about how the destruction of the Death Star would actually probably cause the Empire to crumble by wrecking its economy. And they went through and tried to figure up, based upon modern day materials, how much it would cost to build a Death Star and what destroying one would do to the economy if it were to happen instantaneously. They're like, the bottom would completely fall out of the Empire. It would be over. They would be selling ships to whoever they could, you know. It was bad. But aside from that, I guess I don't need to ask, but what did you think of Star Wars, Mike?
Fantastic, classic, all-time great. I love watching this film. I enjoyed watching it again, and it won't be the last time.
No, I have to agree. It's wonderful. The Blu-rays really do look good. They clean the picture up a lot, and so if you were streaming the film, such as I was, you'll get the 720p or whatever going. It looks great. If anything, I am glad that the special edition came along just to clean up the film. But I'm gonna be watching this movie till the day I die, intermittently. So
amen.
Yep. No gripes about that. What'd you watch this week, brother? Oh, go ahead.
Oh shit.
Game of Thrones
this week. Huh?
Game of Thrones.
Oh yeah.
I heard this last episode sucked, but I don't watch it. Okay.
It did not suck. We have one episode remaining. I obviously will not spoil a single fucking thing. Because of the nature of it being on HBO, so many fans watch it, when they can during the week.
Of course.
But man, it still has ruined all television for me. But I can't think I don't think I watched any movies this week. I really don't think I did. I don't think I got a whole lot of TV in this week, actually, to be honest with you.
I watched a couple of interesting things. It was based off of a recommendation of a friend of my wife's, but that show Dead to Me with Christina Applegate. We watched the entire first season of that, and it is quite good. Really, really interesting. Good
There's a show
there.
called Killing Eve that stars Sandra Oh.
Oh, yeah.
That
I've heard of that.
I'm quite intrigued by, but I have not watched it.
Okay. Is that on Netflix or
No, I think it's on
Amazon or something?
No, it's on AMC.
Oh, okay. I got you. I also went through this week and I watched a documentary that's on Netflix. It's a pretty short watch, but it's called Perfect Bid, the Man Who Knew Too Much, I think it's called. It's about the guy that he made the correct, to the dollar, the correct number guess on The Price is Right, the Showcase Showdown.
Oh, I've seen the clips of this guy.
Yeah.
Like he did everything like that.
Well, so the thing is about this dude that he claims that he is the one that actually, because people obviously can shout out prices on that show. And people, because he's been to that show like 37 fucking times or something crazy like that.
And he never missed an episode on TV.
No. He would write software so that he could like it would list like an item and he could guess at the price and it would list if he was correct and what the price was. Whenever he would watch it, he'd just be writing constantly, the prices on all this shit. And because what happened was they were rotating out the prizes. They didn't realize that people might catch on, on this price deal. So anyway, the guy that actually won the show, though, he claims that he didn't have any help, but the guy that claims that he was the one shouting out the correct prices, he's the one that's been to the show like 37 times or whatever, that was writing the software programs, even with a title screen, like it would say like The Price is Right, price quiz, 35 years, because the show had been on for 35 seasons at that point, And so it's kind of an interesting deal. I went through with my daughter. We tried to watch Babe this week because I'm sick of watching fucking cartoons all the time. So I thought we might watch something that wasn't animated for once, but she watched quite a bit of it. She actually got into Star Wars more than I thought she would. But yeah, after a while, Babe didn't really do it for her. So it's one of those deals, I guess.
Good times.
Yeah.
Well, there's no big secret as to what next week's episode is.
There is not.
We will be watching episode 1.
Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. It is 20 years old next week, man.
That's fucking crazy.
Crazy. Makes me feel old as fuck. So, there's that to look forward to. Should we spill the beans on what's going on?
Sure.
Yeah, we're going to have a special guest. And I think I already mentioned that, actually. So
he may have been the guest we had for our Back to the Future episode.
It's Preston. We'll just say it's Preston.
Yeah.
But Preston, he's a big old Star Wars junkie. And as soon as I found out that, I mean, it wasn't as soon as, because I've known we were going to do this one for a while, but I thought that Preston, him being into Star Wars, and I'm sure he's seen episode 1 a handful of times, that he might have a lot of opinions on this, because it's generally not as well regarded as some of the other Star Wars stuff. So
that should be fun.
That. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. So if you guys have any final thoughts on Star Wars, because we, once again, didn't talk about a lot of shit regarding Star Wars. If you read the books, anything like that, you can always hit us up and tell us more about it. You can email us at cheesymovie@yahoo.com. You can look us up on Facebook, Casino Royale with Cheese, all separate words. Look us up on iTunes, wherever you get your podcast from, Instagram and YouTube, Casino Royale W Cheese, all one word. My friend Mike.
If you're listening on iTunes, make sure you subscribe and hit those 5 stars. That really helps us a lot.
Yeah. We're still moving along on that Full Metal Jacket, by the way. So
nice.
We're up to 20,000 hits on that fucking video.
Holy shit.
Oh, so many thumbs down, so little time. You know, it's funny. I was listening to it the other day. And I mean, me and you, we're not like film analysts or anything. I've never been to film school. I don't know Roger Ebert. I didn't fucking suck Richard Roper's dick, you know. But, I mean, we were just talking about the movie. I don't know why the hatefulness. But apparently people didn't like it. And I guess whenever you're talking about old, what's his name?
Arlie Ermey?
No, the director.
Oh, Stanley Kubrick?
Stanley Kubrick, yeah. You're kind of going out on a limb because people feel really passionately about that dude. So,
as they should,
I guess. Yeah, he's good. But anyway, final thoughts, Mike.
We made it to 1 hour and 15.
We did. We did pretty well, actually. I thought I'd have a lot more to say, but we crammed a lot in. So, good content. I'm looking forward to continuing Star Wars Month. And I hope you guys are too. Make sure that you join us next week for episode 1. And we will see you next time.
Bye.
I'll be back.